Alpha, where are we going? Sophia asked him. You will see when we reach there, Brian replied while focusing his eyes on the road. He was her mate, and she trusted him blindly. She kept glancing at him. He looked in a good mood. She did not want to ruin it by asking more questions. The whole ride was silent. The car stopped in front of a place. Sophia got out of the car and looked at the nameplate. Love Dines. It looked like a restaurant. It had only one floor, which she could see from outside. Brian signaled her with his head to walk inside. She entered the place and felt stunned. There was a small reception area, but from the glass doors she could see that it was an open place. Alpha, this way, the manager said as he himself came to take them to the place Brian had booked for them. Sophia looked around while heading to the area. They had to walk a little before they reached the place. Please take seats, the manager said as he gestured his hand to the only table there, which was in the middle of the garden. The decorations on the trees around the table amazed Sophia. Yellow lights were set up in the trees that were brightening the place. She could see a big candle on the table. She walked to the table with a happy face. She turned her head and saw that the manager had left the area, leaving them alone. Alpha, it's so beautiful, she mumbled with a cheerful voice. As they took their seats on the two chairs at the table, Brian gazed at her. Do you like it? Of course, it's fascinating. Brian chuckled and shook his head. It's nothing. In a few minutes, dinner had been served on their table. Sophia could not be more surprised by the appealing dishes. Brian gestured to her to start eating. You are hungry, aren't you? She grabbed his plate first, started to fill it with food, and placed it in front of him. After that, she held her plate. You first, she said with a warm smile. He stared at her all the time while having dinner. She was nervously eating and trying to avoid his gaze. After dinner, the waiters came to clean the table. They poured red wine into 2 glasses for them and bowed to Brian. Have a great time. Sophia glanced at the wine and shook her head. She wanted to make this night memorable for her. As Sarah told her, she also believed that Brian would tell her about his feelings tonight. So, she could not get drunk to ruin this unforgettable night. She stood up to see the whole place since it looked like a beautiful open garden. Brian gripped his glass and swallowed the whole drink. His eyes were fixed on her. Her every movement was captured by his eyes as they studied her. A butterfly on a flower caught Sophia's attention. So beautiful, she said while looking at the butterfly. She was unaware that Brian had stood up and approached her from behind. Exactly, so beautiful. She heard Brian's voice close to her right ear. She froze when a pair of strong arms wrapped around her waist and pulled her backward, which made her body press against a hard chest. Alpha. She was interrupted when he rested his chin on her shoulder and kissed her neck. His hum and the touch of his lips both gave her goosebumps. He enjoyed seeing the reaction of her body to his touches. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath when his nose brushed her neck. Ah! She moaned when she felt him nipping her neck lightly, then sucking in the skin. Hearing her moan caused his hold on her waist to become more firm. Do you know what I feel whenever I see you? He asked her. She was eager to know that, but the sensation of his touch was making her feel an unthinkable pleasure. He turned her around to him. Her breasts squeezed against his chest. His eyes slowly shifted to her cleavage. She felt shy and tried to move away from him, but he pressed her against the tree close to them and asked, What are you getting shy about? You can't even imagine what I will do to you. His words were intimate, and she shyly looked at him. She was lost for words. He lifted his hand and touched her lips with his thumb. He parted her lips using his thumb, but did not give her a chance to speak as he smashed his lips on hers. The unexpected kiss caused her eyes to widen in surprise. At the moment that he began to move his lips on hers, she carefully wrapped her hands around his neck to convey to him that she wanted him just as much as he wanted her. The kiss heated when he pressed his body against hers. She felt his hands begin to roam around her body. He kissed her deeply and hungrily as if there were no tomorrow. When she was feeling breathless, he let go of her lips and attacked her neck. Her hands caressed his hair when he was kissing her neck. She had never thought someone would ever make her feel like this. Was it because he was... Sophia was shocked. She could not just believe her ears. Was she dreaming? No, it was not less than a nightmare for her. How could someone say something like that to her? Was she this kind of girl who could sell her body or serve anyone in exchange for something? He was not anyone else but her own mate. Did he need something to give her to touch her? He only needed love in his heart. Didn't he have feelings for her? Wasn't that the only reason he got close to her? She slowly turned her head toward him. She could see his handsome face, which turned stranger to her now. "What are you saying?" she asked him as she tried her best not to cry. A frown appeared on his face as if he did not like her reaction. What did he expect? She would feel happy with his statements? "Be my woman and stay with me," he replied. "For what? Because my wolf wants you." She took a deep breath and asked directly, "What about you? What about your heart?" He lifted his brows. His expressions demonstrated that she asked him an irrelevant question. "What about my heart?" he asked. She looked into his eyes for a while, then said, I thought you loved him." He interrupted her with a laugh. She felt a pang in her heart. She noticed his laugh halted and his face turned grimace. "Have you lost your mind, Sophia Berge?" he asked with a cold tone. She flinched at his chilly voice. It was rare when he called her first name, and every time he did, she liked it. But today, she was not liking it at all. She could not just understand how everything turned out like this. "After having a heartbreaking breakup, do you still believe in love?" Bruce was right. "You are still too young to understand the reality," he uttered, shaking his head in disappointment. She clenched her jaw when he reminded her about her breakup with Bruce. It was indeed heartbreaking to learn that her boyfriend was sleeping with her best friend. But what she was feeling right now was unbearable pain in her heart. That heartbreak was not bigger than this. She tried to believe that Brian might be angry with her for some reason. That was why he was saying all these things. So she moved toward him and held his hands. She tried to talk to him softly to melt his anger. "Are you mad at me? Did I do something again? I am sorry, okay? Don't get mad." It was like she was trying to persuade a child. Brian furrowed his brows as he grabbed her hands to move them away from his wrists. "How can you even think that I have some feelings for you? Didn't I clear it to you the very first day?" The darkening of his gaze caused her to feel shivers all the way down her spine. Her heart was completely torn apart by his words. "Why? Why can't you love me?" she mumbled, trying to cage her tears inside her eyes. He released her hands while fixing his eyes on her. "Don't behave like the other women who act like this to get the Luna's position. I can't waste my time on such a useless thing as love. You better know that grabbing someone's attention and making them fall for you are a whole different thing." At that moment, she was unable to hold back her tears any longer. They flowed down her cheeks. She bit her lower lip to control her sobs. How could a man be so cruel? How could he even talk like that? Did he not have a heart? Perhaps she had never been able to melt his cold heart. Sophia took a few steps back. Because she was unable to take any further steps backward, her back was again pressed against the tree. She looked at the ground as if she could not find a way to step forward. Because her mind was messed up. "You want me to be your slave? That is exactly what you mean, isn't it?" She spoke in a murmur while keeping her head lowered. She could hear Brian inhaling deeply. She raised her head to look at him. He looked at her indifferently, as if her tears did not make him feel bad for her. She clutched her dress in anger when she noticed him standing silent. "All those shopping, this dress, everything was because you wanted to use me? Stop overreacting. You were not behaving like this when you begged me to return your brother's position. Let me remind you, you said you could do anything. Now, what happened to that vow?" She laughed like a crazy girl who was crying as well. He kept reminding her about his brother. How could she forget about that? She thought they were in love, and he would never expect anything from her. In her assumption, even if he asked for something, it could not be something like this. "I just can't believe it. I thought I was getting close to my mate, and he wanted me as his lover. But what did I get in return? He wants me to be his slave?" She pulled her hair in anger. Everything around her was getting dizzy. Without drinking wine, she felt drunk. Suddenly, Bruce's warning came to her mind. That day, she did not believe him, but tonight it echoed in her mind repeatedly. You only know CEO Brian. You have never seen Alpha Brian. He will hurt you more than I ever hurt you. Mark my words. She wiped her eyes and shook her head as she tried to shove Bruce's words from her mind. She looked at Brian, who stared at her, observing her every movement. He was no longer the person she fell in love with. Alpha Brian, you should look for someone else to fulfill your desire. I can't be your slave. Sophia turned to the way of the entrance and headed there to leave as soon as possible from this hell, which she thought was heaven a few minutes ago. Do you think I even asked you? It was not a question but my command. Brian's words froze her. She tightened her fists as she prayed in her head. Please, please, don't say something to break me more. I am already broken. She heard footsteps on the ground, indicating that he was coming close to her from behind. Brian stopped behind her. She did not turn to him. She had already shown him her breakdown. She could not let him see her weak side anymore. I thought you were an intelligent girl. How can you react like this? His words made her turn to face him. She stared at him. The more she was looking at him, the more she felt that she fell for him hard. Why could she not get into his heart? Which woman did he prefer in his heart that he could not give her that place? Was she not beautiful enough to grab his heart? What do you mean? She asked with a broken tone. She did not want to hide it anymore. He had broken her, and he should see it. No choice, he muttered, scanning her face with his eyes. What? You have no choice except to listen to my command. I could have asked for it that day, but I was not interested in you at that time. But, he paused. He lowered his head to look at her face and wrapped his hand around her waist, then continued, Since you caught my attention, I don't have the mind to let you go. She broke into tears once again. She did not know when she was falling so deeply for him. His words were good to hear until she learned the truth. But now, everything has changed. She started to feel disgusted with herself. Why does no man understand women's hearts? Why are they always after lust? The man who she used to think was the best person in the world cheated on her because he was sleeping with another girl. And now she felt that her true love wanted to sleep with her without any commitment, as if she were his sex slave. You are free to take some time. There's no hurry, he said, moving his head closer to her. She lifted her hands and pushed him harshly into his chest. It was an unexpected push, which caused him to retrieve a step. He glared at her in anger. No one had ever behaved like that with him. You will never get me. I will never be with you, she said with a furious face. She had lost her mind. She couldn't take it anymore. The pain in her heart rose to her head. Brian clenched his jaw as he had lost his temper. He did not expect her to react like that. He thought she would agree with it. How could she forget her commitment to him? She told him that she would do anything. Now, where was her loyalty to it? Should he have made her sign a contract at that time before allowing her brother to get back into the Gamma's position? He experienced a sense of betrayal. He did not like losing in any manner, shape, or form. Don't make me mad at you. You know I can do anything to get what I want. His warning did not affect Sophia. It was possible that she turned insane in that situation. Nothing could shatter her more. She turned around and walked out of the place. As she made her way through the reception area, the waitstaff gave her a sideways glance. The fact that she was crying made them look taken aback. She wiped her tears as she walked past them. She left the restaurant and looked at the street. The entire street was completely dark. It was only the dim yellow lights of the restaurant's gate that were able to give a glimpse of the route to take. She started to walk down the street while sobbing. She felt that she had no way to go. It was as if every door was shut for her. Her own mate broke her heart. Her mental state was a complete disaster. He gave her pain that could never be healed. One by one, every memory was reflected in her mind. How could she misunderstand his intention? He was no different than other men who looked at her with nasty eyes. From the very beginning, he only felt lust for her. It was never love. The way he healed her, the way he showed care for her by asking for meals, the way he took care of her safety by dropping her home at night, the way he kissed her, the way he tried to get close to her. all of these things meant nothing. Like a child who was lost in the middle of the road, she was crying while walking without any direction. Why is it that fate continues to test my patience? Where did I go wrong? Why me, she asked herself. Due to the fact that she could not walk properly, her heels were making a cracking sound on the ground. The sound of a horn could be heard coming from behind. However, she was so preoccupied with her own thoughts that she could not hear it. A car paced to her side and stopped beside her. She halted her steps and slowly turned her head, only to find Brian getting out of the car. Seeing that it was Brian, she started to walk again. "Sophia, get in the car," he said while trying to grab her hand. She yanked his hand and yelled at him, "Don't touch me." With a stern look on his face, he grasped her waist and pulled her closer to him. "I will, and you can't stop me." In her anger, she made an attempt to push him. "Leave me. I'm not a bitch who men can touch at any time." He grabbed the back of her neck and made her look at him. His eyes turned red as he replied to her remarks. "Forget about other men. I'll make sure you'll just be my bitch." Sophia stared at Brian. Why was he doing this to her? Every second that went by, her heart was becoming more and more icy. During that very moment, she was unable to comprehend what actions to take. As soon as Brian noticed that she was staring at him without making any sound, he spoke in a calm tone. "Come with me. I'll drop you home." "I don't want to go with you. I can go alone. You don't have to worry about me," she muttered, looking away from his face. His grip on her waist tightened, which caused her to hiss. "This place is far away from your house. You won't get a lift here either. If other wolves notice you, they will tear you apart. Is that better than going with me?" Sophia was a little shocked by his statement. However, she shook her head. "I still don't want to." He glared at her as he did not like what she had said. He pulled her to his car and opened the door, then pushed her inside the passenger seat. The loudness with which he shut the door caused her to flinch. He returned to the driver's seat. He was about to start the car but turned to her. It was as if she had lost her mind as she stared at the road. To ensure that she was wearing her seatbelt, he moved closer to her. As soon as he extended his hand to the belt that was located next to her waist, she shoved him swiftly. "Don't touch me." Her response stunned him. All this time, he was trying to calm down in front of her. He did not like it, but for her, he was behaving with patience. However, right after how she had reacted, he lost his calm. He grabbed her hands and locked them on the window glass with one hand. Sophia was frightened by his actions. Both of her eyes widened as she gazed at him. "I can't tolerate more nonsense of yours," he said, grabbing the belt and locking it. She glanced at the belt and realized that he was only trying to do that, but his following sentence almost halted her breathing. "If I want, I can take you right here. Don't make me do something that you will regret later. Right now, I only want to drop you home. Stay quiet and let me drive calmly." She let out a shaky breath when he released her hands and moved back. After exhaling deeply, Brian started the car. Sophia leaned her back against the seat and turned to the window so that she could avoid looking at him. She did not make any sound, just like he said. She became silent. Her eyes were fixed on the outside world. The darkness implied her inner situation. The darkness of the night sky mirrored the blankness of her heart. The hopes that she had built up in her heart were dashed in a single night. When she looked out the window, she could see drunk men going along the road while laughing with each other. It dawned on her that Brian was actually right. But didn't he also have the same intention that those men would have after seeing her alone? Her eyes fell on the woods when the car passed the forest, which was headed in another direction. She stared at the trees. Because of the closed window, she could not feel the fresh air. Though she wanted to have some, she had no strength to roll down the window. The tears were streaming down her face as she leaned her head against the edge of the seat. Life betrayed her in a way where there was no way to go. During the whole ride, Brian did not say anything to her. She also shut her mouth, trying her best to avoid him completely. There was death silence in the car. Brian stopped the car in front of her house. She did not realize that they had reached her home, so she remained unmoved. Brian turned to look at her. "Do you want to go with me?" His question made her come out of her thoughts. She turned her head and glanced at him. No. He nodded his head and signaled her to her house. You remained quiet and did not get out of the car, so I thought you had made up your mind. Sophia looked away from him. Never. She opened the door and was about to get out of the car, but he grabbed her wrist to stop her. Wait. She returned her gaze to him and saw him taking off his suit jacket. What are you doing? She asked with wide eyes. He did not reply to her and wrapped the jacket around her shoulder. Go like that. She immediately tried to remove it, but he held it tightly. You will regret not taking it, he muttered, looking at her neck. She gave him a frown before she understood what he was trying to say. His hickeys were visible on her neck, and her mother could see them. Like a good man, he showed care for her. However, she had learned what kind of care it was. She scoffed at herself for falling for him. Without removing his jacket, she got out of the car. When Brian drove the car away from her house, she remained motionless and stood there. As soon as she realized that the car was no longer in her line of sight, she cast a quick glance in the direction of her house. She had no heart to return to her house tonight. She wanted to give her mother a call, but then she realized that she had left her phone in the restaurant. I'm sorry, Mom. I need some time right now. I'll come back tomorrow, she mumbled to herself and turned around. She began to stroll and walk for a while. She stopped on the way to enter the forest. She took a deep breath before making her way into the forest. She had no fear of getting into another wolf's hand. She was not frightened of anything right now. All she wanted was to shift, and she would do it. Under the moonlight, a beautiful white wolf set her legs on the ground and began to run. Her ocean blue eyes were teary, yet they looked like the most stunning eyes anyone had ever seen before. She stopped in a place where she could see the moon very clearly. She raised her head to look at the moon and howled with all of the pain in her heart. After dropping Sophia off, Brian drove away from her house. He was mad at himself. He had behaved too softly toward her all these days, which gave her the audacity to take him lightly. He should have behaved strictly with her like he behaved with others. She was thinking of herself as superior just because he wanted her. It's all because of his wolf. From the time he discovered that she was his mate, his wolf had a strong desire for that female. Whenever he saw her close to him, it was becoming increasingly difficult for him to stay in control of himself. It did not matter how hard he tried, he was unable to deny the fact that she was his mate. Instead of going to his house, Brian went to the club. As he went to get a drink, he saw that his friends were already there, drinking in the bar. They looked surprised when they noticed him. "What are you doing here?" Beta Robert asked, handing him a glass of drink. Brian chugged down the whole glass and sat on a stool at the bar. Robert exchanged a glance with Edger when he saw Brian was not saying anything. Edger cleared his throat and took a seat next to Brian. "Bro, how are things going for you? When you went to the party, you were in a good mood. How come you feel the need to stop by the club at midnight?" Brian ordered another glass for him and remained quiet. His thoughts were beginning to stir. Robert let out a sigh and sat on another stool beside him. "Brian, you can share anything with us. You know that." When the bartender placed his drink on the counter, Brian gripped it and swallowed all the drink. He put the glass on the counter loudly, which scared the bartender. Robert cast a glance in the direction of the bartender. The man then refocused on his work again. "How can she be so stupid?" Brian muttered under his breath. Edger raised a brow. "Are you talking about Sophia? To spend time with her alone, you left the party, right? So what happened? You banged on her?" Edger asked with a chuckle and winked at him. Brian gave him a glare, which halted his laugh. "No, wait. Is everything okay? She looks innocent. Why are you behaving like she turned out to be a spy?" Robert rolled his eyes. "Come on, our Gamma's sister can't be a spy. Will you both shut up, or do you want me to kill you here? There are so many men waiting to get your positions," Brian said to them with annoyance. Both of them shut their mouths as they pursued their lips and stared at Brian to understand what was going on in his head. "That girl thinks I love her." The silence between his two friends could not keep up any longer. At the very moment that Robert heard Brian, the The drink that he was about to swallow spilled out of his mouth. "What?" he asked, turning his head toward Brian. "Alpha Brian and love," Edgar scoffed after chuckling. Brian was familiar with their reactions. He also felt the same, so he could not scold them about it. "You are overly possessive of her, though," Edgar muttered while drinking. "I also tried to give him some alone time in this club with her. I don't know what he had done to her that night," Robert replied to Edgar as he recalled the night when they came here with Sophia and his friends. "It's my wolf who doesn't like it when she gets close to anyone else," Brian said while holding the glass. He then told his friends about what he said to Sophia. They appeared to be shocked. "Bro, you shouldn't have done it," Edgar said, shaking his head. "She is only 18. You can't play with her like this. You blackmailed her to sleep with you." Brian got to his feet as he no longer felt like talking with them. "I know what I'm doing and what I feel for anyone, so don't be concerned about it." Robert stood up and asked him, "If she is just your unwanted mate, and if only your wolf cares for her, then why do you even feel irritated? Why is your mood off? You can pick any woman and sleep with her. Why are you wasting your time on her?" Brian turned to him and gazed at him with dark eyes. "The thing you are trying to put inside my head, let me tell you, Beta Robert, this is never going to happen. I am the alpha of a pack. A mate bond can't make me weak or make me fall for anyone." Brian left the club after making his friends speechless. The next morning, he woke up late because he could not get much sleep last night. As he got in the car to go to the company, his driver turned to him and handed him a purse and a phone. "Alpha, I found this in the car." Brian glanced at Sophie's purse and phone, which he found on the table at the restaurant last night. Before she left the restaurant, she forgot to take it. Last night, he failed to remember to give it back to her. He grabbed the purse and the phone, then put them on the seat next to him. The phone started to vibrate a few minutes later. He looked at the screen and saw Troy's number. He frowned but then ignored the call. When the call ended, he noticed 15 missed calls from Troy. Suddenly, a message popped up on the screen, and he was able to view it without having to enter his password or unlock the phone. "Your mom has just informed me that you arrived back at your home at an early hour in the morning. Where were you last night? She was so worried about you." Brian's eyes grew dark when he read the message. He left her home at night. Then where was she the whole night? With a furious face, he entered his company, and everyone bowed to him. He paid no attention to others and went to his cabin directly. He assumed Sophia had not come to the company today. He wanted her to come to the office so that he could ask her where she was. He thought for a moment, then dialed Selena's number. She wanted her to call Sophia and inform her to come here to the office. But before the call was connected, someone knocked on the door. "Come in." The door opened, and he slowly put the phone aside from his ear. He cut the call and looked at the person who had just entered his office. "I thought you would not come to the company today, Miss Berge." As she approached the desk, Sophia refrained from looking at him. She placed a white envelope on the desk and spoke out. "Alpha, here is my resignation letter. I don't want to work here anymore." "What did you say?" Brian asked with a cold voice. Sophia slowly lifted her gaze to look at Brian. It turned out that he was correct when he thought that she would not be going to the office today. She had no intention of entering this company today and had no plans to do so. Nevertheless, she was unable to fall asleep anywhere, not even after she returned home from the forest. Her mind kept replaying the words he had said to her last night. As a result, she made the decision to come here with a letter of resignation. If her boss was more interested in her body than in her work, she would not be able to work there. "I said I wanted to quit this job. I would appreciate it if you could look it over carefully and sign it so that I do not have to come back here." In the midst of her statement, she moved the envelope across the desk in the direction of him. Brian did not take his gaze off the envelope until she took her hand away from it. "What made you think that I would sign it?" he asked her. "Alpha, you need an assistant, not a girl who can make you." She paused as she was too ashamed to say those words from her mouth. He looked at her with a frown. "Are you crazy?" He was able to make out her pale face. A pair of black circles highlighted the area under her eyes. It was clear that she had not been sleeping throughout the entire night. Her eyes were swollen, too. He did not leave her last night in that state. Suddenly, it reminded him of Troy's message. He reached out his hand and opened the drawer of the desk that was close to his legs. He took out her purse and her phone, then placed them on the desk. When Sophia noticed them, she was surprised. "I left them. In the restaurant. I took it but forgot to return it to you." Brian replied while examining her face once again. She nodded her head and walked to the side where Brian was sitting. During the moment that she was going to grab her belongings, Brian pulled them a bit further away with his finger. She cast a quick glance in his direction and asked, "I wanted my things back." "You will. That's why I kept it to myself. But first, tell me, where were you last night?" Sophia was stunned when she heard him. "What do you mean?" "I dropped you off at your house. Why didn't you go to your house? Where did you go after I left you there?" His voice was demanding, and she did not feel good about it. She took a deep breath and replied calmly, "I don't think it matters to you, Alpha. Please return my things and sign the letter as soon as possible." He glared at her, which she avoided very clearly. She felt that he had no right over her. Why did he even ask about her whereabouts when he did not have any feelings for her? "Where were you? I won't ask you again." She turned around and walked back to the spot where she had been standing earlier. "I am not bound to reply to you, Alpha. It would be nice if you wouldn't disturb your ex-secretary's personal life. It's totally my matter where I was. I hope I make it clear to you." She sounded confident, which Brian did not like. The way she kept calling him Alpha with a tone of distance, he did not appreciate it at all. After taking a glance at the envelope, he got it in his hand. "You want me to sign it?" She gave him a slight nod. She was aware of the power of this mighty man. He was the pack's head alpha. She could not stay at peace if she offended him in any way, so she came here with another option. She tried to keep her tears inside her and requested that he let her go. "Alpha, I'm sorry if I offended you anyhow, but let me go. I have my studies, and I can't work beside them. It will be too much for me. I hope you will understand my situation and sign the resignation letter. I am okay with giving compensation if there is any." Brian was silent. His eyes darkened when he was listening to her. The atmosphere of the room turned cold. Sophia somehow felt frightened by his silence and dark gaze. He slowly moved his fingers in the middle of the envelope and tore it. Her eyes widened. "What are you doing?" He did not listen to her, tore it in many pieces, and got to his feet. After throwing the pieces in the dustbin, he approached her. Noticing that he was getting closer to her, she began to take steps back until her back pressed against the wall. She averted her gaze from him when he stopped close to him. "Just because I'm trying to handle you with calm and peace, you keep daring to do all these things." His words made her look at him. "What did I do? I don't want to be here with Yo." He interrupted her by grabbing her chin. His touch caused her to gulp. She reminded herself that she could not be weak in front of him. He tilted her head and observed her face carefully. "You didn't seem to get any sleep last night. I didn't sleep either. Troy sent you a message and asked you about last night. Where were you last night?" "I will reply to him myself. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not concerned for you, but for my secretary, who needs to work beside me day and night." She frowned at him and pushed his hands away. "Why can't you understand? I don't want to work here." "Why?" "It's because of you. I can't face you all day knowing what your intention is about me." He lifted his hand, but she shoved it again, but this time a bit harshly. He tightened his fists while looking at it. She moved away from him and began to stroll to the desk. After gathering her belongings, she made her way to the door of the office room. "If you don't want to sign, it's your choice. I'm leaving anyway. Have you forgotten that you signed the papers where it's clearly written that you can't leave this company until I want to?" His voice, which was filled with rage, reached her ears from behind. She slowly turned to him as she remembered it. "You did that intentionally, didn't you?" He smirked at her as he shook his head. "You wish to leave whenever you want after entering a deadly beast's den? This is not going to happen, baby girl." His remarks and smirk shocked her. She immediately opened the door to leave. She did not care about any papers. Just as she took a step out of his office, she heard him speak up once again. "In 2 days, you'll come back to me and ask for your job back. Mark my words." As quickly as she could, Sophia left Brian's office. With a slow pace, she made her way to the elevator of the building. She was constantly being observed by other employees. It was clear to them that she was not well. Some of them even asked her if she was okay. She chose to ignore everyone and continued walking. She entered the elevator and pressed the ground floor button. The elevator came to a stop and opened the door as it reached the floor of management. Sophia noticed Luisa entering the elevator with some other employees. In an effort to avoid drawing her attention, she turned her head to the other side. But luck was not on her side. Luisa's eyes fell on her the moment she turned her head to the right side. "Oh, Miss Sophia," she addressed her with a mocking tone. Sophia closed her eyes in anger. Though she made an effort to hide herself, Luisa noticed her. As she had no other choices, she turned her head toward Luisa. "Miss Luisa, good noon," she muttered as she glanced at other employees beside her. "Oh my God, what happened to your glowing face? I saw some pictures of you and Alpha. I must say you tried hard to attract him toward you last night. I was wondering if it was successful last night." Luisa asked with a chuckle. Other employees joined her in the laughter. Sophia frowned at her. "Does everyone only think about getting into each other's pants? Does Brian think of me as like them?" Sophia thought in her head while looking at Luisa. Luisa glared at her when she got no reply. She scoffed at Sophia as she brushed her hair away from her shoulder. "Do you know Miss Sophia personally? You really do sound like that," an employee inquired from next to Luisa. Luisa nodded her head. "Of course I do. She is very famous at our university. After all, she used to date Alpha's younger brother." Everyone in the elevator gasped loudly. They were not aware of it. Sophia was shocked that Luisa had revealed her past to others. "Stop blabbering nonsense. I will complain about you to Alpha Brian," Sophia warned her. Luisa raised her brow and asked, "What did you just say? You will complain about me? Are you kidding me? I know everything that you did last night." At that time, the elevator opened, but it seemed like no one wanted to leave and yearned to learn more gossip. "What has she done, Miss Luisa?" Luisa's presence disturbed Sophia. What was she talking about? There were only her and Brian in the restaurant. How did she know what had happened? Luisa gave her a dirty grin and turned to the other employees after putting on an innocent look. She tried to seduce Alpha Brian. He denied her and told her that he would fire her today. So she came to the company with a resignation letter herself so that she would not have to face humiliation later by getting fired. Sophia tightened her fists as she moved closer to Luisa. "I'm already in a bad mood. Shut your mouth, or else I will slam you in the mirror to remind you how you used to sleep with my ex-boyfriend when I was in a relationship with him." All the employees' eyes widened after hearing me. Luisa tried to pretend that I was lying. "Why are you lying? Just keep your mouth shut, or I will call Bruce to come here and give your real introduction to others." Luisa gulped when she realized that Sophia was really mad. She did not say anything more in fear of Bruce. She knew Bruce would definitely take Sophia's side over hers. "You all, why don't you come out? Can't you see we are all waiting outside?" Some employees said it from outside the elevator. They were watching them for quite some time. So when they saw they were not coming out and they were getting late to get back to their work, they started shouting. Sophia was the one who walked out of the elevator first. She was passing the lobby area to leave the company when she heard someone calling out her name. "Sophia." She turned around and saw Troy walking toward her. "Hey," she said, greeting him in a low voice. "Sophia, where were you last night? Your mom was so worried that she had to call me. I could not attend the party because my mom was sick, so I had no idea where you were." Sophia sighed and replied, "I had some official work after the party, so I had to stay at the office last night. By the way, I heard you message me. I am sorry for not replying to you." Troy glanced at her phone. "I see you haven't checked your phone yet." Sophia lowered her head and unlocked the phone. She was shocked to get 15 missed calls and some messages from Troy. She could see a bunch of missed calls from her mother, too. Though she said sorry to her mother when she returned home early this morning, now she started to feel bad for her. She noticed a few notifications on her phone. She clicked on them as she heard Troy. "Sophia, are you in Alpha?" He paused. She raised her head to look at him. "What?" Troy signaled her to check her phone. The moment she looked at her phone, a few photos of last night's party appeared on the screen from the notifications. Brian was leaning close to her and talking to her in those photos. In some of them, Brian was holding her hand. Someone even clicked a photo when they were leaving the party venue together. Sophia was lost for words. She wanted to stay away from Brian, but the situation was getting worse. She realized that Luisa was talking about these photos in the elevator. Troy cleared his throat and said, "I didn't know you and Alpha were together. Now, it makes sense why he always asks me about you." He halted for a brief second, then stated carefully, "Sophia, you know how Alphas are. I think you should be careful. You are very young, and Alpha Brian is very dangerous. He has the ability to make anyone's life better, and at the same time he is capable of destroying it too." Upon hearing Troy's words, Sophia was taken aback. She averted her gaze from him and shook her head in disappointment. "This is not the case. You are misunderstanding. Nothing is like that." An expression of bewilderment could be seen on Troy's face, which she was able to notice. Nevertheless, she was not in a state of mind that would allow her to say anything further. Her condition was not good enough for her to explain anything to him. She turned around and began to walk toward the entrance door. The receptionist smiled at her, but all she could do was nod in response to the smile. The receptionist looked stunned by her gloomy mood. Sophia sighed and left the company. The whole way back to her house, she kept thinking about what Brian had said to her in his office. What would be the reason for her to go back to him for the job? She believed she would never do that. As she entered the house, she noticed her mother sitting on the couch, watching television. At the moment that she heard the sound of the door closing, her mother turned her attention to the door. "Sophia, you are back." She gave her a slight nod before making her way to the couch and sitting down next to her mother. "I told you, Mom, it would take an hour to return." "Yeah, right. Nowadays, you are so busy that it is impossible to see you at home before night." I made myself comfortable on the couch and placed my head on her lap. "I love you, Mom." Her mother was surprised by her sudden words, but then she stroked her head and replied, "I love you too, my daughter. What happened to you? You look so tired. Is everything okay?" As Sophia felt her mother gently stroke her hair, she closed her eyes. It felt blissful to her. "Mom, you love me unconditionally. In this world, the only people we should love are our families. We must not allow ourselves to be distracted by other people." Her mother's hand froze on her hair. "Sophia, are you talking about someone?" Sophia was shocked. She moved her head to look at her mother. "Why did you think that, Mom?" "Then why are you talking like you have broken up with some guy?" Sophia shook her head in response. "No, Mom. I was just telling you, nothing else." Her mother smiled at her and continued to stroke her hair. "Don't worry, my love. When you meet someone truly special, your mate, your life will change." Sophia immediately moved her head to the side to hide her face. She felt emotional hearing about mates. Mates are blessings of the moon goddess. When your partner discovers you, he will treat you with the utmost care. If I am able to hand you over to him, I will truly feel relieved. Tears streamed out of Sophia's eyes. She slowly wiped her tears so that her mother could not see them, or that tears could not fall on her mother's clothes. "Your brother is already in a good position, so after seeing you with your mate, I can die in peace." She sat up and embraced her mother. "Please, don't say that. You know how much brother and I love you, Mom. We can't live without you. If something happens to you, what will happen to us?" Her mother smiled while caressing her back. "You know your mom is a heart patient. Anything can happen at any time." Even though she bit her bottom lip in an attempt to stop her sobbing, Sophia was unable to do so. She went to her bedroom after she had finished her conversation with her mother. Because she was unable to fall asleep the night before, she slept through the entire day. When she finally opened her eyes, it was already late in the evening. Her mother told her to eat something. She had her meals while using her phone. She saw that all the photos of her and Brian from last night's party had been taken down. She felt relaxed. She did not want other people to have a misunderstanding of her. She did not like what they were saying about her. She got a call from Sarah. Sarah asked her about how the night was. It was impossible for Sophia to explain to her what took place after she and Brian left the party. She could not just tell her friend what her mate was thinking about her. It was not love but lust, which he only felt for her. I had to return home early, and we could not talk much. Sophia lied to Sarah. She could hear a tone of disappointment from Sarah. Oh no, I thought I would hear your delightful tone, but it turned out you two could not even confess to each other. Yeah, don't worry. I have observed how that man looks at you. I must say he is eager to devour you. Sophia lowered her head as she looked at her hand. She had nothing to say. When you were thinking about someone who loved you and wanted to do something for you, it was a different thing. On the other hand, for the man who was only interested in touching her without any feelings towards her, it seemed as though she was considering selling her body to him. Sarah, how is your relationship with Nolan? You never thought that he would be your mate, right? Sophia asked. After a little pause, Sarah replied, Well, you are right, but the mate bond is something we can't deny, even if we want. It pulls us closer. And the fact is, mates are really possessive about each other. So when Nolan found me as his mate, he could not just control himself. In fact, he still can't control himself whenever I'm around him, Sarah said with a laugh. While Sarah was uttering those words, Sophia could not help but imagine that she was flushing. And let me tell you, Sophia, when you get close to Alpha, you will realize the magic of this bond. Sophia let out a long breath. I don't think everything will run like we want, Sarah. Maybe I should keep myself away from him. My status is nothing in front of him. Sarah was shocked for a few seconds after hearing Sophia, but then she replied, This mate bond is absolutely insane. It is comparable to an addiction. No matter how hard you try to avoid your mate, you will never be able to be apart from him. It was the weekend. For Sophia, the past 2 days had been awful. She locked herself in her room and cried alone. She wanted the old Brian back. She yearned for that Brian who had given her a gentle kiss while she was riding in his car, who had taken care of her when she was going home alone at night, and who had complimented her on how beautiful she looked in his gifted dress. Why did everything change in one night? What was the reason that all of her hopes were dashed in the blink of an eye? As she examined her face in the mirror, she rubbed her dark circles under her eyes. Her face was getting worse as a result of her lack of sleep at night, and she did not like how it was getting worse. Sophia. She heard her mother's voice coming from downstairs. Come to have breakfast, darling. Her mother shouted to let her know that breakfast was ready. She responded in a loud voice after opening the door. I'm coming, Mom. She freshened up hurriedly and went to the closet to change her clothes. Her eyes fell on a black suit jacket. She slowly lifted her hand and touched the soft jacket. She pulled it close to her nose and sniffed the scent on it. It was Brian's coat that he wrapped around her before leaving her in front of her home. She could not figure out why he had changed so suddenly, or if that was how he had always been. With a hasty movement, she took out a dress for herself and put on it. She left her room and went downstairs to have breakfast with her mother. Are you not going somewhere today? Her mother inquired. Sophia stopped chewing, and she gave her mother a glance. Where, Mom? It's the weekend. I thought you planned to go somewhere. The expression on Sophia's face changed. She did not want to go anywhere. She was not feeling good. She was heartbroken. No, Mom. Why are you feeling so down, my sweetheart? Are you missing your brother? She looked at her mother and replied, How is he, Mom? Right at that moment, her mother's phone began to ring. Oh my, it's your brother! Her mother let out a resounding jolt. Sophia smiled at her and said, Please receive the call. Her mother was overjoyed to see that her son had called him, and she received the call almost immediately. Despite his busy schedule, he took his time out to just talk to his mother. Abraham. As Sophia watched her mother talk on the phone, she noticed that she was beaming. It gave her a warm feeling in her heart. Her mother turned her gaze to Sophia while she was speaking to Abraham. After a few minutes of conversation, she said, "Yes, your sister is here. Talk to her." She handed the phone to Sophia. Sophia held the phone and put it close to her ear, only to hear her brother's voice. "Sophia?" Her eyes got teary the moment she heard his voice. She stood up from the chair to go back to her room to talk to her brother alone. She gave her mother a quick glance, who gave her a nod of approval, indicating that she could return to her bedroom. As soon as Sophia entered her bedroom and shut the door behind her, she began to cry silently. "Brother, how are you?" she asked with sobs. "Sophia, are you crying?" "No, it's a tear of happiness. I'm totally fine, but I'm mad at you. Why, brother?" Sophia was perplexed as to why her brother was angry with her. "Why didn't you tell me that you joined the Morrison group?" Her eyes widened in shock. How did he get to know about it? What she remembered, she told her mother not to tell him about it. "Who told you that?" "Whoever told me that doesn't matter anymore. First, tell me, why didn't you inform me about it? And why did you go to that company in the first place where Alpha was working? In fact, it's his own company." Sophia was nervous. She knew he would get mad, which was why she forbade her mother not to raise the matter with him. "I am sorry, brother. I thought it would help." "No, Sophia, you shouldn't have done it. You know I'm here, and I always think about your safety. Alpha Brian is dangerous. How can you go to his den yourself?" Her irritation was mounting. Why did everyone keep warning her that Brian was dangerous? She was aware of it. "Brother, how did you get to know about it?" "Beta Robert and Delta Edger were talking about you. I overheard them. Please don't get mad, brother. I'm going to resign very soon. The only thing I need to do is wait for Alpha to sign the papers." Her brother sighed and replied, "It's a good thing. By the way, Alpha is the one who is currently training me. He was telling me that I should take a leave." Sophia froze after hearing him. "A leave? Why?" "I don't know. I have never heard of a Gamma taking a leave before finishing his training in the camp. I am not sure what is going on in his head, but I will return home tomorrow. I just wanted to share the good news with you and your mother. I wanted to give you a surprise, but Alpha suggested that I let you know first. So don't tell Mom about it, okay? I'll give her a surprise." Sophia was shocked when she heard that Brian told Abraham to inform her about it. Why is he sending my brother on leave? Isn't it kind of a pause in training, she thought. Her heart started beating fast when she recalled Brian's words. "In 2 days, you'll come back to me and ask for your job back. Mark my words." 2 days, she mumbled. "What 2 days? I'm coming tomorrow," Abraham replied. "Yes, brother, I'll talk to you later." She hung up the call and sat on the bed while grabbing her in her forehead. "You can't do this, Alpha Brian. How can you play with me like this?" She realized that it was Brian's plan to force her to return to her job. Not only that, he wanted to remove her brother from Gamma's position because she did not fulfill her promise to accept his demand. It was the last chance for Abraham to keep his position. If Abraham was able to stay in the pack house for a fixed period of time, Brian would never be able to remove him from his position because he would have passed all of the Gamma's tests. But if her brother returned home now, there would be no way to go back there. Sophia pulled her hair in anger. The tears began to fall down her cheeks. Did Brian intend to send her a warning with that? She could not help but ask herself, what should I do now? Sophia could not sleep last night. It was much worse than the last 2 nights. While holding a cup of coffee and leaning against the headboard of the bed, she stared at the blinds, which were slowly turning bright in the sunshine. She couldn't risk falling asleep. She was afraid that if she was late to go to the office, she could not save his brother from losing his position. She felt that she came back to the day when she begged Brian to give her brother back her position. That day, with a flow of emotion, she said she would do anything. Little did she know, he would ask her to be his slave. "I have made up my mind," she mumbled to herself. After putting the glass on the nightstand, she got out of bed and headed to the closet. She spent the entire night considering Brian's proposal before coming to a decision. She would agree to fulfill his demand. Though she did not want to be a plaything for someone, she would have to do that for her brother. Her brother would be forced to endure the humiliation of society if he were to lose his position. On the other hand, her mother was a heart patient, and she did not want her mother to get attacked again like last time. When she was about to retrieve a dress from the closet, she saw a bunch of branded clothes. They reminded her of Brian. In fact, in the 2 or 3 days, he had reflected on her mind every single minute. Her phone suddenly began to ring, which startled her. She rushed to her bed and grabbed her phone, which was lying on the bed. She thought it was her brother's call and he would not come home today. However, it was Sarah's call. When she received the call, Sarah spoke out. "You know you have to come to attend classes, right?" Sarah reminded her about the projects she would have to work on. Today's class was very important to learn many new things. Also, it would help her achieve higher marks. "I can't come today," Sophia replied with a low tone. "What? Why?" "I have to go to the office early today. I have some important work to do there." There was a brief silence between them. Then Sarah asked, "Sophia, is everything okay? You sound low." After letting out a deep breath, Sophia replied, "I'm fine, Sarah. Don't worry about me. I will come tomorrow." Sarah did not urge her to come since she understood that there was something Sophia was hiding. She could clearly get that from her tone. She decided to ask her about it tomorrow when she would meet her at the university. Sophia took a quick shower and put on an old dress. She did not want to wear anything that Brian had given her. She left her room and went downstairs. She saw that her mother's room door was still closed, indicating that she was asleep. She did not want to wake her mother this early in the morning, so she left her home hurriedly without making any noise. She arrived at the company after taking a bus there. She checked the time on her watch, only to find that there was still 1 hour until the start of the office hour. She walked inside the company and saw a few employees walking around who had some work left before the weekend. To finish them before the deadline, they therefore came to the office early. While making her way to the elevator, Sophia had to face many gazes from other employees. She recalled that Luisa had told others about her and Bruce's relationship. So people may have started to think badly about her. A woman who had a relationship in the past with the younger brother has now turned into the personal secretary of the big brother. Not only that, she had been seen walking around in a party hand in hand with her ex-boyfriend's big brother. Sophia could not just set her mental health. She couldn't help but feel tears scramble into her eyes. These days, she was crying too much. She was not a cold-hearted girl who could put a lot of pressure on herself. Those who had known her well could say that she was a soft-hearted girl who had good intentions for everyone. Her family was everything to her, so for them, she could give up everything. Sophia entered the elevator and wiped the corners of her eyes. The moment the elevator reached the top floor, she went directly to Brian's office. She saw that he had not come to the office yet. She bit her bottom lip to think for some time. She had heard that Brian arrived at the office before the office hour. She was curious as to why he had not arrived yet. After staring at the phone for quite some time, she decided to call him. She could waste her time because if he released her brother, it would be too late for her. She closed her eyes tightly and dialed Brian's number. She pulled the phone close to her ear and waited for him to accept the call. But Brian did not receive her calls. She hissed in annoyance and went to her cabin to wait for him. 2 hours passed as she had been waiting for Brian, but she did not hear anything from him. She lost all of her patience and walked out of her cabin. She did not ask anyone if he had come to the office yet. Instead, she made her way to his cabin directly. She opened the door and found no one. "He is doing this intentionally," she thought while standing close to the desk. She thought to dial his number once again with anger in her heart, but as soon as she called him, she heard a ringtone from behind her. Her eyes widened when she turned around and found Brian at the door. "Ah, Alpha?" He had just entered the office. After closing the door behind him, he proceeded to walk in her direction. A smirk appeared on his face as he came to a stop in front of her. "So eager to meet me, Miss Berge?" Sophia stared at him for a while. She almost lost herself in his eyes, but then realized what he had done to her. Her gaze moved on his smirk, which indicated that he was aware of her arrival. She slowly averted her gaze from him and said, "You are late." With an echoing laugh, he shook his head. Sophia glanced at him again. How many times would she control her in front of this cruel man? How could she avoid her feelings for him? It could not escape from her heart overnight. I think you have forgotten that I am not a worker, but the owner of this company. I don't need to follow any rules, now do I? Sophia lowered her head to avoid making any eye contact with him. Why are you here, Miss Berge? I thought you wouldn't come back. His tone was full of mockery. She felt upset about it. She also did not want to come here. Brian leaned down to reach her ear and whispered to her, "Perhaps you have changed your mind." Upon hearing his whisper, she felt a chill run down her spine. As he moved his mouth away from her ear, she felt his lips slowly touch her earlobe, which caused goosebumps to appear all over her body. She immediately moved away from him and took a step back. Brian stood straight and inhaled deeply. He turned to the desk and went behind it to sit on his chair. After taking a look at her, he noticed that her face was becoming paler than it had been before. He did not like it. His gaze examined her expressions very carefully with his predatory eyes. She had no idea what was going on in his mind. She was too close, yet too far from him. Brian had the desire to pull her to his chest and do all the things that were going on inside his mind. The way that she was biting her lower lip while looking down at the floor in a nervous manner was causing him to become aroused. He tightened his fists to control his desire and cleared his throat. "Why are you here? Do you need me to sign the papers? I think I can prepare it for you," he said, sounding cold. On the other hand, his cold tone frightened Sophia. She raised her head and looked at him. "Alpha, why are you doing this?" she asked with an innocent tone. Her broken look made Brian feel almost out of control. He was unable to stop himself from imagining how he would feel when she was beneath him. When Sophia did not get a reply from him, she understood that this man would not be moved by her pleas. "I am a businessman. As my personal secretary, you know how much I dislike when other parties disrespect me or betray me. You made a deal, and now that it is about to be fulfilled, you want to get away." She let out a sigh as she realized he had never considered her a real woman, but rather a dealership party. So whatever he would do to her would be only a deal. Should she think of it as a deal as well? Would it hurt her less? "Alpha, I'm sorry for taking a step back. Please return my job to me," she mumbled while looking at him. His mood brightened when he heard her. He leaned his back against his chair and gave her a shake of his head in disappointment. "You came one day late. The deadline was for only 2 days. I told your brother to let you know about his leave the day before yesterday. But I think it's his bad luck. He forgot to tell you that day and informed you 1 day later." As soon as she heard him, her eyes grew wide. She shook her head and leaned on the desk by pressing her palm against the glass. "You can't do this with him. He is your gamma. Why can't you give some value to his hard work? Don't you have any sympathy in your heart?" she asked with a little anger. His eyes grew darker. She realized that she had enraged him. She slowly removed her hands from the desk and stood up straight. She was astounded that Brian was being so obstinate at the moment. "Alpha, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for disrespecting you. Let's not give him a leave, okay?" His expression did not soften. Anger lingered in his eyes. She gulped at his angry face. In the last few days, she had almost forgotten how aggressive a person he was. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, as if she was tired of this situation and her messed up life. He looked away from her, not to make her more nervous with his dark gaze. Taking one from a packet, he lit up a cigarette. Sophia stared at him while he was smoking. It seemed as though smoking was the only thing that could help him ease his anger. After taking a few puffs of smoke, he replied to her question. "You know the answer. Be with me, and forget every tension in your family. I will protect them." Though she knew the meaning behind it, his words kind of gave her a little warmth in her heart. Will he really protect my family? Forever? She thought. Her eyes were fixed on the man sitting in front of her. He was not a stranger to her. What if she gave in? Would she ever be able to soften his heart for her? Would the closeness between them ease his mind? Would she become his safe place where he would not treat her coldly anymore? Would she be able to change this man? With a deep hole in her heart, she replied to him, "I agree with your deal. I will be with you, Alpha." As Brian heard Sophia, a glint of satisfaction appeared on his dark orbs. Sophia could see the changes in his expression and immediately looked away from him. She lowered her head to wait for him to speak. "Are you sure, Miss Berge?" His voice came out so smoothly, as if he were asking the question with a pleased mind. Sophia nodded her head while looking at the floor. "It seems I have no other way to go," she mumbled in reply. "Why so diplomatic, Miss Berge? You know I don't like those people who like to beat around the bush." "Sorry, Alpha. Don't be so apologetic after every statement. You have to be careful before speaking so that you can avoid saying sorry countless times to me." Sophia found his words to be advice as well as a warning. She did not know what she would do from now on. She had no idea what he wanted from her. Did he want to just sleep with her? Would he want her to spend the night with him tonight? So many thoughts rushed through her mind. She felt ashamed just thinking of it. However, a part of her was excited to know his thoughts. "How long will you look at the floor? Do you find it more interesting than looking at me?" Brian asked her while staring at her. He could see her cheeks turning red. He could not help but wonder what she was contemplating, which caused her to blush. Because of her flushed face and nervous state, he felt the urge to pull her toward him at this very moment. There was a desire forming inside him that wanted to ruin her in bed. If it had not been office hours and he had not had to work on some important files, he would have touched her to the core. His gaze lingered on her quivering lips. Those lips were tempting him. He could not help but imagine how they would feel wrapped around his member. "No, I was just thinking something," she replied, raising her head to meet his gaze. The way he was looking at her made her feel shy. "Alpha, do you want something? Let me check your schedule," she said, hurriedly making her way to the door to leave his cabin as soon as possible. Brian realized she was trying to run away from him, so he stopped her with his voice. "Wait." Sophia's steps halted. She tightened her fists and scolded Brian in her mind. "Why this man can't let me take a breath peacefully?" She slowly turned around to look at him. "Yes, Alpha? Make me a cup of coffee." Sophia exhaled a breath of relief. She almost thought that he would say or do something unexpected. It was her fortune that he did not say anything about that matter, which she wanted to escape, and only ordered her a cup of coffee. "Okay, Alpha." After saying that, she left the cabin. As she stepped out of the cabin, she noticed other employees peering into the room. She frowned at them and asked, "What are you all doing here?" They immediately rushed to their desks after saying that they were only trying to see if Alpha was in the right mood. "Why did you say that?" Sophia questioned one of the employees. The employee looked scared as he replied, "He was furious the last day. I have heard from some employees in the management department that Alpha wanted to fire you because of something you did. I am curious to know if you really did something that enraged him that day." Sophia could see interest in the employee's eyes. The man was young, and his tone was polite too. But she was unclear about the intention behind his question. "If he wanted to fire me, then do you really think I have the power to continue working here?" Sophia asked with a blank face. She was already exhausted. She could not sleep last night, and after talking with Brian and solving the problem about her brother, she felt her mind and head both start to stop working. They wanted to take some rest, which she would not get today since she had just returned to her job. "Sorry if I offended you. I was just asking if the rumors are true." Sophia shrugged her shoulders and began to walk past the employee. She let out a loud tone so that others could hear her as well. She had other things to do, so she could not respond to each and every one of them individually. "If any one of you has any questions, you can ask Alpha Brian directly. All I can say is, don't believe in just anyone. A new trainee can yearn for attention by spreading false rumors. I'm not resigning from this company, nor did Alpha want to fire me." Her voice was clear and sharp. Everyone moved their heads away from her and turned their attention to the papers on their desks. They realized that Secretary Sophia was mad today. As she made her way to the coffee machine, Sophia brewed a cup of coffee. While Sophia passed a few women who talked rubbish about her a few days ago, they lowered their heads when they noticed her. She paid no attention to them and returned to Brian's office. The moment she opened the door, she found no one on the desk. She closed the door behind her and walked inside. Alpha? Where are you? She looked around the massive office room, only to find Brian sitting on one of the couches. He was using his phone while leaning his back against the couch. He did not turn to reply to her first questions. Here is your coffee, Alpha, she said, walking to the couches. As she put down the coffee on the coffee table in front of the couches, she stepped back. Brian locked the phone and placed it on the coffee table next to the coffee mug. He then raised his head to look at her and said, "Come here." "What?" Sophia asked with a nervous tone. He gestured with his fingers for her to approach him. "I asked you to come here." Sophia was taken aback by his order. Why was he calling her to him? Did she make some mistakes? She cast a quick glance in the direction of the coffee mug, which Brian had not even touched yet. Why did she have the feeling that he would reprimand her for something? With slow steps, she made her way to him. "Yes?" she asked as she returned her gaze to him. He did not reply to her, which made her feel more nervous. What was it about him that made her feel such dread? What was the reason for this? Was it because he was capable of doing anything? Or was it his personality that made him so intimidating that anyone could be afraid of him? Without any warning, Brian grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward him. The yank caused her to let out a gasp. She was shocked when her legs disbalanced, and she could not keep her body from falling forward. Her eyes widened when she landed on his lap. Brian wrapped his hands around her waist and looked at her. Upon realizing what he was referring to when he said, "Come here," Sophia's jaw dropped. She turned her gaze away from him and made an effort to get out of his lap. However, Brian had other things on his mind. His hold on her waist became more firm, and he prevented her from getting up from his lap. Sophia could not help but blush. She was sitting on his lap. He had strong and thick thighs, and she could feel them beneath her. She wondered if he went to the gym to build such a body. It brought back memories of the day when she had gone to his house to pick him up. Her mind was completely blown when she saw his abs and biceps that day. He possessed the kind of body that women would feel a deep desire to touch. When she felt his warm breath on her face, she realized that she was still sitting on his lap. At that moment, she immediately placed her hands on his chest and attempted to stand up once more. "Alpha, Why are you acting as if this is the first time you are sitting on my lap?" he asked with a smirk. She froze when she heard his question. His question reminded her of the very first day of her job when she accidentally landed on his lap. Suddenly, her brows furrowed as she pondered the question. Wait just a second. Was that really an accident? She caught a glimpse of his sly grin and recalled the day. He was the one who ended up pulling the bag, which resulted in her falling on his lap. Did he do that intentionally? She shoved her thoughts from her mind and cleared her throat. "I have a lot of work to do. Let me go." With a raised eyebrow, he inquired, "What kind of work?" She looked at him directly and replied, "As a personal secretary of the CEO, I have some responsibility." His eyes looked intently at her face. Under his gaze, she experienced a rapid acceleration of her heartbeat. Her heart almost skipped a beat when he moved his fingers to caress her upper back. A light touch was all it took for her to straighten her back immediately, but he did not stop it. Instead, he focused his attention on the reactions she gave to his touch. "Hey, Alpha." She tried to tell him to leave her, but paused when his fingers slowly moved to her lower back. She immediately grabbed his hand to stop him and shut her eyes. After taking a few deep breaths, she uttered, "I am not ready yet." He remained silent. She waited for a few minutes, but still he did not speak up. Her eyes slowly opened, and they gazed at him. His gaze remained fixed on her as he posed the question. "What makes you think that I want to fuck my secretary right now?" Her eyes grew wider. Almost instantly, she averted her gaze, her cheeks glowing with redness. How could he say those things so openly to her? Suddenly, he pulled her closer to him, which resulted in her body being pressed against him. Their faces got closer to each other. She blinked her eyes to calm her mind in that situation. She was able to sense the surge of adrenaline that was occurring within her because of the closeness. "You don't have to worry about getting ready. You will learn everything as time passes." His deep voice skimmed over her mind. There was something in his eyes that she could not identify. She saw him leaning his face closer to her. Her gaze shifted to his lips, which were inches apart from hers. "You can't even imagine what I will do to you, so I can only warn you to make up your mind." She felt a tickling sensation in her lower abdomen when she tried to comprehend his words. His breath brushed across her lips. "I want to be gentle with you whenever I think of you in my mind, but I can't help but become rougher." Sophia let out a shaky breath. Those words caused a fire to ignite within her. She realized that no one had said those dirty words to her. When he tilted his head, she thought he would kiss her, so she gulped and closed her eyes. However, his lips touched the left corner of her lips, then moved to her cheek. It seemed as though he was playing a teasing game with her, making her admit that she desired him just as much as he did. When he moved his face away from hers, she opened her eyes and looked at him. Even his eyes were a mystery to her. But his next action surprised her. He cupped her cheek with his hand and stroked his thumb under her eyes. "I think you couldn't sleep the past few nights, so I am giving you today off from work. Go back home and take some rest." Sophia stared at Brian. She could not just understand what the man was. He told her that the only reason he wanted her to be with him was because his wolf had a desire for her. If this is the case, then why did he express concern for her? She inhaled deeply and shook her head, indicating that she did not want to think about all of those things. "What is the reason for you shaking your head? Should I take it as a no to leave?" he asked, examining her face. The fact that she appeared perplexed was visible to him, and he did not miss it. He believed that she required some rest, therefore he raised his hand and gently patted her head. "Don't be stubborn. Go back to your home. Tomorrow is also a work day for you. I will take care of my schedule today." It occurred to her that he had misinterpreted her thoughts, but she did not consider it necessary to correct him in any way. "Okay," she mumbled. He slowly removed her hands from her body, which caused her to feel a sudden sense of emptiness. His touches left behind traces on her body that were not visible. She immediately got out of his lap before he changed his decision to let her go. As she stood up, she fixed her clothes. Fortunately, she did not wear any clothes that were too tight today, so she did not have to face any embarrassment. She bowed down to him. "I'm leaving." When she received a nod from Brian, she turned around and walked toward the door. She reached for the doorknob and then glanced over at Brian. His gaze remained fixed on hers. His mysterious eyes always left her speechless. What was it about them that always made her feel such a strong pull toward him? In the silent room, they were making eye contact from far away. Sophia's eyes shifted from his face to his chest. His breathing had become unsteady, unlike moments ago when she was nearer to him. It was as though, when she went a little further, his heartbeat turned restless. Would he still say that it was only his wolf who wanted her and not him? Sophia's wolf reacted inside her. She wanted to shift and run towards Brian. Sophia understood that maybe Brian also felt the same when his wolf urged him to get closer to his mate. It could be possible that, because of this, he wanted her to be with him. There was a sudden desire that developed in Sophia's heart. If being with him without feeling was a sin, she would rather be a sinner. "I swear that if you keep staring at me with that innocent face, I will destroy you on this couch before you can even begin to comprehend anything." His voice jerked her body, and she turned her gaze away from him immediately. Why did his sinful words not make her feel disgusted? Why, whenever he touched her, she found herself lost in him? Is she capable of loving him without an end? Has the love that she had for him not diminished a little bit in her heart? Not even after what he had told her about his intentions. She opened the door and left the cabin hurriedly. When she stepped out, she closed the door behind her. She leaned against the door and patted her cheeks, which felt hot. "I was angry with him until today. Why can't I be mad at him whenever he is in front of me?" she muttered to herself. She sighed and was about to walk over to the elevator when her gaze fell on the employees. She furrowed her brows when she noticed them looking at her. It seemed as if they had one and only one job, which was to keep a close eye on her every move. After what she had told them, how could they still be after her? She paid no attention to everyone and decided to exit the company as soon as possible. She wanted to go back home and took a long nap, which could ease her restless mind. When Sophia came out of the company, she began to walk to look for a taxi. She did not have the strength to take a bus right now. When she was about to raise her hand to stop a taxi right next to her, a car pulled up in front of her and stopped. She was stunned when she saw it was Brian's car. She turned her head to the company to see if Brian had come out. Brian's driver came out of the car and opened the back door for her. "Miss, get in the car." Sophia was taken aback. "Why? Is there a meeting today? Is he coming out of the company?" she asked him, glancing inside the company once again. The driver shook his head and replied, "I am dropping you off at your house. Alpha just gave me the order." She was shocked by his reply. She noticed a few people looking at her while walking past her. She recognized that some of them were the company's employees. She could not help but feel worried that rumors would once again start to spread around her in the company, which she did not want. They would never understand why she was with their alpha when he was not even committed to her. It was because she was his mate, and her fate was bound to him. So, in this case, only she would suffer a loss of reputation. "It's okay. I can go by myself." After saying that, she started to walk, but the driver stepped in her way and prevented her from walking further. "Please don't make things difficult for me. He will be mad at me if I do not take you to your house in his car." It came to her attention that the driver was terrified. She let out a sigh and nodded her head in agreement. "Okay." She got inside the car and the driver went back to his seat. When he started the car, she leaned her back against the seat. She did not know when her eyes were getting off to sleep. Just as she was about to go to dreamland, her phone began to vibrate in her hand. She opened her eyes and looked at the screen of the phone. When she saw the caller's name, a frown formed on her face. "Bruce? Why is Bruce calling me?" she thought as she stared at her phone's screen. She had no interest in receiving his calls, so she ignored it and let the phone ring. However, Bruce did not stop, and he kept calling her. She had just gotten close to her home when she took a glance at her phone and made the decision to answer the call. "Sophia!" She heard his desperate voice the moment she received the call. She had no idea what had occurred, and the tone of his voice conveyed the sense of desperation that he was feeling. "What happened? Are you okay?" he asked after taking a deep breath. She was confused as to why he thought she was unwell. "Yes, I'm okay. Why did you ask that?" "I heard what happened in the company," he muttered in a low voice. She frowned when she heard him. "What happened in the company?" she asked, trying to find out what he was talking about. "Brother wanted to fire you, and you decided to resign before he could do that." In truth, Sophia was not surprised at all. She understood how he got that news. "Luisa told you nonsense, and you heard her." "What? Is that not true?" She could feel disappointment in his voice. Sophia rolled her eyes and replied, "No, it's not." He remained quiet for a minute after hearing her. So Sophia spoke out. "If you called me to know about this, then I've already replied to you." "Don't cut the call." "What now? You said you would talk to me later that day, but you didn't contact me again. What stopped you from showing up to any of your classes? Don't you want to graduate anymore?" "I do, but I don't think I need to explain to you why I skipped my classes. Don't forget that you are my group member. There is still some time to start the assignment, so I don't think you need to worry about it." She thought she had answered all of his answers. Nevertheless, he took the conversation in a different direction and asked, "Sophia, you can't do this to me. I have seen photos of the pack party. I can't believe how you can hold another man's hand. That is your brother, and I have not done anything wrong. I had something for him, but now it's your brother who is after me," she mumbled, turning her head toward the window. "If that is the case, you should maintain a safe distance from him. Do you need my help?" "Bruce, have you lost your mind?" "No, Sophia, it is impossible for me to see you with him. For a very long time I warned him, but he never paid attention. You don't know him. The concepts of love and like are foreign to him. He is a businessman. According to him, everything is a business deal." What Bruce was telling her was right. She realized it 3 days ago. But other than obeying Brian, she had no other option. How many times will I have to tell you the same thing? If you disturb me one more time, I'll really talk to your brother about you. This caused Bruce to become enraged. He groaned in distress and said, "Mom is right. You are doing this intentionally. You want to be with the head alpha. Without a doubt, you would have gone to my brother even if I had never cheated you. Think whatever you want." Sophia cut the call in rage. Why could Bruce not just leave her alone? She had nothing for him in her heart. Even if she had to stay away from Brian, she would never return to Bruce. She looked at the driver and found him glancing at her through the rear mirror. Sophia was embarrassed to think he was listening in on her conversation. When the driver arrived at Sophia's house, he got out of the car and opened the door for her. She thanked him and stepped out of the car. When she entered her house, her mother looked stunned. "So early today?" her mother asked her with a bright face. "Alpha gave me a day off. All thanks to him, you can now sleep peacefully. Because you had been keeping yourself so busy with work, you were unable to even get a good night's sleep." Sophia had actually been lying to her mother for the past few days, saying that she was busy with work in her locked room. That was why her mother did not go to check her room frequently, like other times. Sophia took a rest the whole day. It was as if sleep was the only thing she had ever wanted in her life. The next morning, Sophia woke up with a smiley face. She had a dream that Brian came to meet her mother, and they were having dinner together. She yawned and sat up on the bed. At that time, she realized what had happened over the last few days. Her smile froze at the thought. A sigh escaped her lips as she climbed out of bed. She walked to the dressing table and looked in the mirror. As she looked under her eyes, she noticed that the dark circles had disappeared almost entirely. She felt a sense of calm as her face returned to its normal appearance, no longer looking like a zombie as it had on the last day. She touched under her eyes and remembered Brian's touches on them. She shook her head. No, I can't think about him. She turned around to get a quick shower since she would have to go to her university. At that moment, her phone began to ring. She turned around and walked to her bed. She reached for her phone, which was resting on the nightstand. She grabbed it and saw that it was Miss Selina who was calling her. "Hello, Miss Selina. Good morning." She greeted her with a polite tone. "Morning, Miss Sophia. The reason I am bothering you at this time is because there has been a change in Alpha's schedule, which I failed to inform you of via email last night. I apologize for the inconvenience. Therefore, I decided to give you a call directly." "Alpha's schedule?" Sophia asked in confusion. "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Alpha told me to handle the work on his schedule until you returned, so I had to work on it in your absence." "Oh, I see." Sophia knew Miss Selina was one of Brian's trusted people. That was why he let her do it for him. Sophia expected her to inform her about any meetings at noon, but she was surprised when she heard her. "There is a meeting scheduled for this evening. It will be held at the most expensive club in our pack. So, as the personal secretary of the CEO, you will have to attend the meeting with Alpha." "Meeting in a club," Sophia murmured. "Didn't people go to the club to have parties? Why did they have to arrange a business meeting at a club?" She then recalled Sarah's birthday night. She had seen Brian that night talking with some men. Perhaps he went there for a meeting. Sophia shook her head as she considered that Brian might go there to attend a meeting, because she had never seen him hang out except the night when Sarah asked him to join them in the club. She tightened her fist as she thought that from that night on, they started to come closer. It was her fault that she was drunk. "Yes, meeting in the club," Miss Selina replied. "Miss Selina, you didn't have to bother calling me. You could have informed me at the office." "I know, but I heard you live with your family, so I thought to inform you beforehand so that she could handle your own schedule." Sophia's brows furrowed in confusion. "Why? Are we going to have the meeting in the last hour of the office?" "No, after the office hour." Sophia's jaw dropped. These days, she was required to remain in the company until 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. If she were to go to the meeting, it would take her until the middle of the night to get back to her house. "Are you listening to me, Miss Sophia?" "Yes, Miss Selina. I will manage everything. Thank you for letting me know in advance, she replied with a low tone. After hanging up the phone, she glanced at the clock. Her eyes widened when she saw the time. She rushed to the bathroom and took a quick shower. She wore a dress that was knee-length. She chose to wear it because she had to go to the club tonight. That dress seemed fine to her. It was decent, and she did not have to change it to go to the company either. She tied her hair into a high ponytail. After putting on a pair of heels, she left her room. "Are you going somewhere today?" her mother asked when she noticed her dressed up. "Today I have a meeting that I must attend." "Oh, I see. Mom?" Sophia chewed her lips as she thought to inform her about her late arrival. "Yes, my baby. What happened? Do you want to say something to me?" "Yeah, I will come home late. Please don't wait for me at dinner." There was no sign of surprise on her mother's face. It seemed like it was normal for her now. "You come home late every day. If I take more time, don't worry about me." Her mother let out a sigh. "I am regretting letting you join the company. Your brother called me, and you know how he is. He somehow got to know about your job. He asked me why I let you go there." Sophia lowered my head. She was also feeling the same. She regretted joining that company. Suddenly, her mother's words hit her mind. She raised her head and looked at her mother. "Mom, did you talk to brother again?" Her mother looked at her expression carefully. "Yes. When did he call you?" "He called me last night. He said he called you several times, but you did not answer." She felt restless. She immediately took out her phone and unlocked it. She noticed 5 missed calls from her brother. She forgot to call him yesterday after talking with Brian. He might have called her to inform her about the dismissal of his leave. A new tension arose in her head as she thought, what if brother asked me about resigning from the Morrison company? What will I reply to him? "Sophia, where are you lost?" her mother asked. She returned her gaze to her mother and shook her head with an awkward smile. "Nothing, Mom." She walked toward the door and opened it. She turned to her mother and said, "I will return late tonight. I can assure you that I will be fine. Don't be concerned and sleep on time. The last thing I want is for you to forget to take your medication, Mom." Her mother nodded her head. "Okay, take care of yourself, my baby." In a hurry, Sophia went to her mother and kissed her on the cheek before leaving her house and making her way to the bus stop. When she reached her university, she felt relieved. She arrived on time. There were still 10 minutes until her first class began. She made her way to her class, thinking about what excuse she could give the professor for her absence. She was stunned when she reached the classroom. The professor was already in the class. Why did he come so early today? Was it fixed in her fate that she would have to get scolded by him today? "May I come in, sir?" she asked with a polite tone. Everyone turned their heads toward her. The professor gave her permission with a slight nod. But when he saw she was well dressed up, he thought Sophia was a pretentious girl and skipped classes to hang around. "Why didn't you attend the last 2 classes, Sophia Berge?" "Sorry, sir. I was a little sick." She immediately made an excuse in a nervous tone. The professor pushed his glasses up from his nose and responded with a sarcastic tone, "But you don't look sick to me." Students began to laugh. Sophia turned her head and frowned at them. It came to her attention that Sarah was waving her hand in her direction. Nolan was sitting beside her. "Sir, I'm sorry. I will make every effort to be present in each and every class. Now, can I go to my seat?" Sophia said this while trying to walk to the seats where Sarah and Nolan were. "Wait a minute." The professor's voice stopped her. She turned around and asked him, "Yes? Why are you going there?" She was confused by his question. "Because I want to go to my seat. All of the students are seated in my classroom in accordance with the group that I created for them." "But sir," he shook his head to cut her off and looked around the class. His eyes fell on someone, and he said, "Bruce Morrison, let Sophia Berge sit next to you." Sophia was stunned after hearing from the professor. A sense of annoyance appeared on her face as her brows furrowed at the professor. "But why, sir?" she asked him with a disbelieving tone. "Didn't you hear what I said? You have to sit with your group until you finish the project." She tightened her fists as she controlled herself to not talk back. However, she could not help but speak out once again. But, sir, there is still time to start the project. Why are you so disobedient? You did the same thing in the group-making class. The professor gave her an angry look, as he did not understand what was wrong with her, or did she want to draw attention from everyone by bringing up new issues every day. Why are you standing here? Go and sit next to Bruce. Don't make me repeat it again. From now on, you will sit with him in my class. Sophia lowered her head when she was scolded by him. The whole class was silent. But when she turned to look for Bruce, the girls began to whisper, "She is so fake. We all know she obviously wants to be with Bruce. She is pretending to be hard to get." "Yeah, you are right. We are dying to sit with him, and here is his ex. Such an idiot. Where will she get a man like Bruce if he stops feeling interested in her?" "Exactly. He is a son of the royal family and is both attractive and handsome. He is the younger brother of Alpha Brian." Sophia clenched her jaw as she tried her best to ignore their voices. In a few seconds, her gaze settled on Bruce, who was seated on the last bench in the left corner. Because all of the benches were joint for two, students were required to sit in pairs. Sophia could see Bruce staring at her. She headed in his direction with a gloomy face. She glanced at the two students who were seated on the front seat of Bruce's seat. She stopped next to them and asked, "Excuse me, can we exchange seats, please?" She whispered so that the professor would not listen to her, since the class was massive and she was standing at the end of the class. Both the boy and the girl looked up, rolling their eyes at her. "Didn't you hear the professor? Go sit with Bruce quietly. We don't want to sit with you," the girl replied as she held the boy's hand. Sophia was stunned. Did she think that she was after her boyfriend? With a sigh, she moved to the last seat, which was located behind the bench. Sophia wanted to tell Bruce to move to the window, but he stood up and stepped aside. She had no choice but to sit close to the window, where Bruce sat next to her. She found him sitting a little closer to her. She glanced at the professor, who had started the lesson. "Can you just move a little to your side?" she muttered with an angry tone. Bruce did not move. Instead, he replied, "You won't tell which side is mine? It's a bench where you have to compromise the space with me." Sophia exhaled deeply as she fixed her eyes on the professor. She knew Bruce would disturb her like that. It was the reason she did not want to sit with him. She did her best, but she was stuck sitting next to this boy. While Sophia attempted to concentrate in class, Bruce's gaze remained fixed on her. He examined her carefully. He observed every expression and movement she made. He chuckled when he noticed her tapping her nails on the bench under stress. Sophia turned her head to the side and almost let out a gasp when she saw his face so close to hers. "What are you doing?" she asked. While she was moving away from him, she pressed her back against the window frame. "I'm doing nothing. I am just looking at you. Don't look at me." "Why? Is there any rule that I can't look at my baby?" he asked with a wicked grin. She gave him a glare. "I knew it. I knew you would do something like that. Keep your distance from me. Otherwise, I will complain to the professor." She warned him and glanced at the professor. She wondered why that man could not notice them. Was he so preoccupied teaching others the lesson? Bruce laughed in a low voice and shook his head. "I can't understand what you think of me. You always warn me that you will complain to others about me. I want you to know that I am not a coward. You are free to give it a shot if you so desire." When Sophia heard him say that, she scoffed at him because she believed that he was only saying that because she had never tried it. So she got to her feet and looked at the professor. "Sir, Bruce is disturbing me. I can't pay attention to the class because of him." The professor paused as he looked at her. All the students turned their attention to her, then glanced at Bruce, who shrugged his shoulders. For a moment, the professor looked at Bruce, but then he turned his attention back to Sophia. Given how often he had reprimanded her today, Sophia assumed he would do the same to Bruce. However, to her surprise, the professor lifted his hand and gestured at her. "Sit down. I don't have time to hear your complaints right now." Sophia's eyes widened. When the professor went back to his lesson, Sophia sat down slowly and with astonishment on her face. "How is that even possible?" she mumbled. She felt Bruce lean close to her and whisper, "I bought him." She pushed on his chest and looked at him. "What?" He raised a brow and asked, "What? Have you never heard of buying the judge in a case? Just like that, I bought the professor in your case." Sophia could not believe in her ears. Bruce bought the professor? Don't be too shocked. It's just for the classes. I didn't make any deal with getting a high score, so it's not illegal that you can go and complain to the dean about it. Bruce's voice was full of mockery, but by looking at the expression on his face, anyone could say that he was enjoying Sophia's reaction. As she grabbed her forehead and turned her head away from him, Sophia thought to herself, "These two brothers are getting on my nerves." She closed her eyes to take a deep breath to ease her mind. However, she was unable to allow her thoughts to calm down. Before she had a chance to calm down, Bruce spoke out again. "The professor informed us that he would assign us such a large amount of work that we would be required to spend nearly 4 hours working together. I was considering telling him to increase the hourly rate," he muttered. "Shut up!" Sophia roared at him. He pursed his lip to stop his laugh. He had so many ideas in his head to get her back. It's just that he needed time to proceed. He was an alpha in rank. It did not give him a nature to feel cowardly, so even after his big brother warned him, he did not agree to leave Sophia's side. He believed she belonged to him from the beginning, and he would get her back. "It is just that my brother was born first, and for that reason, he gets to be the head alpha. Otherwise, I am also an alpha and a royal blood as well," he thought to himself. Suddenly, his eyes widened at his thoughts. Why did he think that? For the first time, he thought about the position. There was never a moment when he felt envious of his brother's position. From childhood, his parents told him his position, which was after his big brother. He never gave it a thought, even after some of his friends told him that his father could have given the throne to him. "What's I'm thinking?" he asked himself. He shook his head. He could not be greedy for something that was impossible, but an unexpected thought arose in his mind. If I were the alpha, my brother would never have had the chance to warn me about her. Even if she were his mate, he would have to let her go for me. During the time Bruce was thinking all of those unrealistic things, Sophia glanced at him and observed him. "Have you gone mad?" she asked him. "Huh?" he asked as her voice reached her ears. "You looked crazy a few seconds ago," Sophia replied as she turned the pages of the notebook. Bruce cleared his throat as he shoved his thoughts about the positions and gazed at her. Sophia could feel him looking at her from head to toe. She was aware of his gaze because she had spent 2 years with him. "Stop scanning me with your eyes," she muttered in a furious tone. "Why did you wear such a hot dress today? To impress me?" he asked with a smirk. She didn't have to turn to look at him to see his smirk. She knew how he reacted when he talked. "No, to impress your brother," she replied while turning to him and smirking at him. Almost instantly, his smirk disappeared. "Sophia." "What?" She was tired of running away from his ex-boyfriend, so she decided to face him. She rested her face on her palm while looking at him. With a grin on her face, she said, "Didn't you buy the professor for me? Then let us have a conversation. What's there to be ashamed about?" Her voice was a little loud, which caught the student's voice, attention who were sitting close to them. He glared at her, and she sneered at him in response. "Why so angry, ex-boyfriend? Didn't you want to talk to me? You have become sassy. You were not like this when you were with me," he said. Sophia nodded her head. "Yeah, you are right. It's all because of your big brother. He is playing hard to get with me. So I thought, why not seduce him? After all, he is my mate." This time, she spoke in a low voice so only he could hear her. Her every word was piercing to Bruce, and she was aware of it. He had hurt her a lot. Why not hurt him in return? He grabbed her wrist firmly under the desk. "You are saying these things to me intentionally." She tried to break her hand free from him, but then she paused and said, "Grab it more tightly. I want your brother to see the red skin on my hand. Perhaps it will cause him to feel jealous of it." In an instant, he let go of her hand. She laughed at him while moving her hands, which he had just released. "Still so afraid of your brother? You are a child in front of him. Don't provoke him." She paused and glanced at her wrist. She repeated the words that Troy had told her to alarm her about Brian. "He has the ability to make anyone's life better, and at the same time, he is capable of destroying it too." Bruce stared at her for a while, then replied to her warning. He cannot destroy my life because I am not an ordinary person. I am not just his younger brother, but the younger son of the former head alpha. It was the sharpness of his voice that caused her to look at him with a frown on her face. Upon observing his eyes, Sophia noticed a hint of rage. At that moment, she immediately turned her attention away from him. She had no intention of causing any friction between the two brothers in any way. The two brothers, who loved each other and had a strong bond, should not fight over a girl who they did not even love, but rather wanted to have her like a challenge thrown to them. After attending a few classes, Sophia went to the cafe to meet her friends. To her surprise, all the other classes did not feel as long as the first class did. As she entered the cafe, she found Sarah and Nolan sitting together. They waved at her as she approached them. "Hello, guys," Sophia said, sitting down in one of the empty chairs. "What's with your mood?" Nolan asked her. "Nolan, how can you even ask her that? She is upset because of Bruce," Sarah said. Sophia nodded her head with a sigh. "Yes, she is right. She knows me really well." Sarah smiled at her and mumbled, "By the way, you look hot today in this dress. Where are you planning to go with Alpha, huh?" "What? Are you dating Alpha?" Nolan asked with a stunned face. He recalled Brian being so close to Sophia at the party. Therefore, he concluded that it could indeed be possible. He was relieved that Sophia's mate had accepted her. Hearing Nolan's question, Sophia felt upset in her heart. However, she did not let it come out in her expression. She shook her head and replied, "No, we are not dating. I am going to a club with him for a party. That's why I thought of wearing this dress." She wished she could date Brian, but that man was so arrogant that he would never think of that. What does that mean when you say you want someone, but, at the same time, don't want to be committed to her? It was confusing to her. "Wow, I love clubs," Sarah muttered with a wink. Sophia understood the reason why she winked at her. Sarah took her mind back to all the times she had spent with Brian at the club. "I repeat, it's just a meeting," she reminded Sarah. Yeah, just a minute." Sarah sang it like a song. Sophia did not say anything to her friends about how she felt heartbroken after Brian broke her heart. She thought she could hide this matter until she found a direction in her life. After the break, Sophia had to return to her remaining classes to attend. She hurried to the bus stop after finishing all of her classes. She sensed a car was following her when she was making her way to the bus stop. She turned around and spotted Bruce's new car. She stared at it without moving. Bruce got out of the car and smiled awkwardly. While rubbing the back of his neck, he said, "I thought I could drop you off at your office." "No need," she replied with a cold tone. She did not want to entertain his idea that he could come and talk to her at any time. "Why?" he asked with an annoyed look. "Because neither you are my boyfriend nor my friend." He scoffed at first, but then smirked at her. "But I am your ex-boyfriend. If you consider ex from the word, then you can come with me, you know." She rolled her eyes. "You never flirted with me like that when I was with you." He was stunned when he realized that she had just posted his remarks to him, so he replied, "I became flirty the same way you became sassy, though it's only for you." "Go to hell." Sophia began to walk again. From behind, he spoke out. "You wanted to make my brother feel jealous, right? How about going to the company with me? He will surely feel jealous." She stopped and turned to him. "When did I tell you that I want that?" she asked with a confused look. "You said that in class when I grabbed your wrist." Sophia almost hit her own head. It was because she was aware that Bruce would release her if she said something like that. That was why she made that statement, but it seemed like he took it very seriously. "No, thank you. I have other men to make him jealous. Bye," she replied with a grin. Bruce tightened his fists as he watched her turn away from him and walk in the direction of the bus stop. Sophia let out a deep breath when she got to the bus. When she found other men glancing at her, she felt uneasy. She lowered her head to look at the dress and asked herself, "Did I dress a little too short?" She tried to ignore the questions roaming around her head and got down from the bus when it arrived close to her company. When she entered the company, everyone greeted her. The receptionist waved at her and smiled at her while looking at her dress. "What's wrong with everyone today?" she muttered under her breath. As she entered the top floor, women were glancing at her. Sophia noticed Miss Selina walking toward her. "Good noon, Miss Sophia. Good noon." Selina looked at her appearance and said, "I see you dressed yourself for the club meeting. You look younger than your age when you tie your hair like this." Sophia scratched her head. "Really? Like 10? Selina laughed and shook her head. "No, dear, like a few years younger, like 16. Oh, but I am going to be 19 soon. You are pretty. Beautiful outfits enhance your beauty even more." The compliment caused Sophia to flush. "I was just going to Alpha's cabin, but his cabin is empty." "What? Where is he?" As a secretary, she should know his whereabouts. He was talking with his mother when he was walking out of his cabin, so I guess he went to meet her. Oh. Sophia recalled that when she went to Brian's private residence, one of the guards had told her that Brian's mother was a little sick. Is she okay? Sophia thought. Sophia went to her cabin and began to think about what she would do. Should she call Brian to ask about his mother? Though his mother was rude to her last time and even went too far to slap her. She shook her head and grabbed her phone, then dialed Brian's number. After a few rings, he received her call. "Alpha." She immediately spoke out but bit her tongue when she realized she sounded desperate. Brian replied in a deep voice, which caused her to feel butterflies in her stomach. "Yes, Miss Berge." She rubbed her stomach to stop what was going on inside. "How does it feel like this?" she muttered to herself. "Feels like what?" Sophia's eyes widened in response to his words. She slapped her mouth when she realized that her thought was too loud. He had heard her. She cleared her throat and spoke out in a low voice. "And nothing. I was working and I am feeling tired." "Really? But I heard you had just entered the company." She could not be more shocked. She was embarrassed. She bit her bottom lip at the thought that he had caught her. "Wait a minute. How do you know I have just entered the company?" "Don't think too much, Miss Berge. You have some reason for calling me. I think you can say it." Sophia chewed her lips in confusion. She could never understand this man. He was too mysterious. "Where are you, Alpha? I am out for a private matter." Sophia scoffed at him in her head. "Private matter? I know you went to meet your mother." "Don't act like you have a girlfriend," she thought. While holding her phone close to her ear, she opened the computer and checked his schedule, which Miss Selina had handled. She was surprised that he indeed did not have any work right now. "I wanted to remind you that we have a meeting in the evening," she said. After a brief silence, he replied to her, "I will pick you up from the company after the office hour." She heard him but did not reply. His voice was calm and sounded like honey. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath without making any noise. "Why am I feeling like this whenever I see or talk with him? Why can't I stop my heart from beating for him?" she thought. Brian was on the line until she cut the call. She put the phone on the desk and held her forehead. "Control, Sophia. How long have you been in love with him? Why is your love for him growing stronger every day?" she asked herself. After trying to make herself understand to avoid the feelings, she began to work. When it was break hour, she went to the cafe. Today, many male employees came to talk to her. She wondered if it was because of the dress she wore. However, it was a simple black dress with a few shimmering golden stones here and there. But what caught other people's attention was the way it hugged her perfect body. She had no idea that she had the body that every man desired in life. "Hey, Sophia." She turned around and saw Troy approaching her. "Hey." They grabbed their meals and headed to a table to sit together. As they started to eat, they overheard the conversations of the peoples who were sitting next to their table. "She dressed up for Alpha." "Yeah, how can she have such a good figure? Maybe that's why Alpha is with her. Or perhaps she goes to the gym daily to get this shape in order to seduce Alpha." Troy gave them a stern look. "Can you all just shut up?" Those women looked shocked and immediately lowered their heads to focus on their food. Since Troy was the head of the financial department, he had a great reputation in the company. That was why employees showed him great respect. Sophia rolled her eyes when she saw those women glancing at her again. "Troy, let it go. They have nothing else to do except gossip about others." Her voice was loud enough to be audible to them. Troy turned to her and gave her a nod. When they had finished eating, they made their way to the elevator. "You look beautiful today." She heard him and she turned her head toward him. "Oh, thank you." She chuckled when she understood the magic of the dress. It was the reason she was receiving so much attention from others today. "Well, there will be a meeting at night in the club. Last time, Alpha scolded me for my dress when we were going to attend a meeting in a restaurant, so I thought about wearing something that suits the place." He smiled at her. "That's great. By the way, I am also attending that meeting tonight." Her face brightened. "Really?" "Yeah. Shall we go together?" Even though she did not want to, she had no choice but to refuse him. "Actually, Alpha said he would pick me up. Since I am his secretary, I should go there with him." "It's okay. See you in the meeting then." Sophia gave him a nod with a warm smile. Soon after, she went back to her cabin and continued her work there. When it was getting close to the end of the work hour, she received a message from Sarah. She looked up the message and read it. "Don't forget to apply some makeup before going to the club. Good makeup can give you a confident look and power to hold your man's heart." Sophia stared at the message. Heart? Though she carried makeup kits with her in her bag to give it a touch-up, she did not think about it like Sarah. She replied to Sarah with an okay and finished her work in the office. She went to the restroom with her bag and starter to apply makeup. She tried to give herself a confident look, but ended up with a cute look. When she emerged from the restroom, everyone turned their attention to her. Female employees were like, "Miss Sophia, you look pretty. With this hot dress, you look cute." Cute? Sophia asked herself this when she returned to her cabin. "I thought it would look mature and confident." She shook her head, thinking that she needed to learn how to apply makeup on different occasions. Exactly at the moment that the office hour had come to an end, she received the message from Brian. "I am outside the company." Unknown to her, a tiny smile spread across her face. He did not believe in love, but he still wanted to be with her. The fact that she was the only woman in his life continued to make her feel the same for him. She hurriedly left the company and went outside, only to find Brian's car waiting for her. She walked to the car and opened the back door. As soon as she sat on the seat, she turned to look at Brian. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw him with a new haircut. Her heart screamed inside, "He looks damn hot!"